basin 4 and make it maybe like 100, 150 thick maybe. Hit apply, okay. And simply just take a rectangle and just sketch that. And you can lock it to this if you want. Maybe I'll do that. Don't need to. Hit finish. And now that looks pretty good. Okay, we have our catch basin. Interesting. Okay, so now for this spout, what we're gonna do is, okay, so to create the pipe, the downspout, we're gonna go into our ground floor, and we have like the distance, like the outline of where that is gonna be. So we're gonna take a reference plane, RP, and we're just gonna simply click and find almost like sketch the middle point of this and just drag this out and name it like downspout. And the reason why we made that is so that the geometry knows what plane to be hosted on. Okay, so to get that elbow joint for the downspout, what you're going to do is you're going to go into the Insert tab. You're going to load Autodesk Family, and you're going to come into the pipe category. You're going to go generic, and you're going to go this generic elbow here. You're going to load this in, and now that this is in the project, what we're going to do is go back to Systems tab, go to Pipe, go to the Edit Type at the structure or the routing preference, and under Elbow, right now we don't have a family selected, so change this to Generic Elbow and make it like 15 millimeters. Click OK, apply and OK. And now, when we sketch, make sure that the level is the reference plane that we made. And now, all you're going to do is just click, and then click again to get that angle. And then one more time. And then hit escape. Twice. Let's go into 3D. So currently, it's not in the right position. So I'm going to go into our site plan. I'm going to, for now, I'm going to pin the ground because we don't need to select it right now. And then I'm just going to take these pipes. I'm going to select Windows Select and come to Filter, check None, and select Pipes and Pipe Fittings. Hit Apply, OK. And now we are going to move it from the center point to our reference. And go back to 3D. And now we have our pipe fixture. If I want, I could bring this a little bit further up. And that looks pretty good, actually. Okay. So now we are going to move on to the windows. So if I come back to the image of the project. Okay, so to create these first windows, I'm going to go into the section drawing, and I'm going to use the image that I overlaid that was provided. And what I did was I just typed DL, and I created a series of these detail lines as reference. So I'm going to type di, and I'm simply doing this just so I can understand the distance between these. So if you type di on these lines, you're going to be able to snap to the points. And I'm going to click and click again, and then grab the dimension of this line. And right now it's not showing the same units, and you might ask, well, um, my project units are in millimeters, so why is this showing in centimeters? And what you need to do is you need to go into the family of whatever family you're using for your dimensions, and you need to come into the type properties and change the unit format here to millimeters or um, whatever measurement type you're using. And so now we have the measurement in millimeters. So I'm going to repeat this for the rest of these, just so I can understand um, the thicknesses. And again, you don't need to do this right now, but it's going to help me shortly. So what we're going to do is I'm going to create a new window family. Before I do that, I'm going to also grab this distance and this distance. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to go into File, New Family. I'm going to go Metric Window, open that up. And what we can do is we can go into Exterior View. And I'm actually going to maybe grab, I'm going to see if I can actually grab this and put it to the side. And then actually go back into our section, and now we have visibly the dimensions that we made. So we can use this as like a reference. So the first thing I want to do is I want to assign the the perimeter around this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a sweep. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into 3D, and we are going to go create a sweep, and we're going to pick a path, and we're simply just going to pick the boundary of this and hit finish. And now we're going to add the profile. So go edit profile, and we're simply going to go like so. Matching the distance of the the thickness of the window opening, and then we'll go maybe 115, and then across, and then down again, and we're gonna hit finish, and finish again, and what I'm gonna do actually is I'm gonna go back into the sweep. I'm gonna edit the. I'm gonna go at the profile again. I'm just gonna make sure that that these are locked, which is quite important. I'm actually going to offset this by 113. 113. And then hit finish. And I'll give it a material, just as we did with the doors. I'm going to pick this cherry material, assign it, and that's okay. So now we're going to take another sweep, and we're gonna do it for the frame here. So what I want to do is I want to basically come back into, actually, yeah, I can come, I'll go again into create. I'll go sweep again. And then I will this time sketch the path. I'll set the work plane to the face of the sweep we created. And I'll do this in exterior view. Before I actually do that, I'm actually gonna set the I'm gonna change the width. So if you go into the reference level of this this window family, you'll see the width here. I'm gonna change this to match our the measurements that we had. So I'm gonna add these up and then coordinate it like so. So if I come back into the image of the project, what we're gonna do is basically we have, I think we have 3 different types of windows here. So this is one, 1, 2. Let me change my marker actually. 1, 2. And then we have this double hung window. So once we create number 1, we'll be able to copy this to this one and this one. We have this one down here, which is number 4. And then the one, I think this is looking south. So this one is actually going to be, I'm going to use the same method I did for the kitchen entry. We're going to do this as a curtain wall. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to go back into Revit. I'm going to take the curtain wall that we made first. I'm going to go copy, paste, align to selected levels, and we're going to choose second floor. And now what we're going to do is, let's see what's happening here. I'm going to tap select and grab the curtain wall. And then I'm going to come into the site plan and if you could guess, I'm going to press DM. Mirror dimension. And I'm just going to mirror it from the middle point, from here. So now we can delete this one. And then this one is now in place. However, these walls overlap. So how we're gonna fix that is firstly we have to bring down this wall. So I'm gonna go into the north or south elevation. I'm gonna go into wireframe. If your display options are grayed out like this, is because you have sometimes Revit puts like a view template on. If you have a template, if you just remove this, set it to none, this is okay now. So I'll go wireframe. I'm gonna bring this down, just using the move tool, or no, sorry, not the move tool. I have to change the offset. So right now it's going up to the roof. So we have to take the base offset, the top offset, and go maybe like minus 100, maybe minus 200. Okay. So if I go back into hidden line, it's still hidden. So we have to edit the profile of this wall. It's gonna say it's gonna temporarily remove the base attachments. That's okay. And then we're just gonna take a rectangle and we're gonna draw around the perimeter of this current wall. And what this is gonna do is it's gonna puncture through, and I'm gonna walk it. I'm gonna walk the corners, hit finish, and join. And now we're getting closer. So the wall got detached, so we're gonna reattach it. So that fixed that. And here, let's see what happened. So, I'm gonna take another section to better understand what's happening at this junction. So I'm gonna go into the site plan. I have another section here actually. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull this a bit back, and then just open this section. I don't need this drawing, so ignore this. I'm gonna delete this. Sorry. Yeah, delete. Okay. So right now, the current wall, the window is below the floor. So we're gonna grab it and just simply lock it onto this. So that fixes this scenario. So if we go back into 3D, that's fixed. So this is looking pretty good. Now, what we want to do is for this opening, we're just going to simply use the same procedure. We're going to guesstimate this. So if we assume that this is like maybe a foot, maybe, I don't know, 14 inches. Let's say it's like 3.5 feet. We'll say maybe, yeah, 3.5 feet by 3.5 feet. So what we're gonna do is select the wall, go into edit profile, and we're gonna go maybe like somewhere here and sketch that out. And once you sketch it out, you have all these dimensions. So you can just click into them and say maybe, we'll say like 914 by 914. Maybe a bit bigger actually. Maybe 1100 by 1100. Hit escape. And then in the image, we'll say it's maybe like roughly this distance. And hit finish. Okay. That's actually a little bit bigger. So I'm just gonna kind of play around with this, make it a little bit bigger. Okay. So now we're gonna tackle these windows. So for the first window, let's see if I can get a better picture of this window. So for this window, we have the main frame. We have this kind of subframe, and then we have another one within it, and we have this kind of bar going across. So we have basically 4 components, and then including the glass. So the glass is the 5th component. So we're going to model this as a family. So what we're going to do is go into a new family. I'm going to go metric window, open. So what we're going to do is go exterior, and we're going to take a sweep, and we're going to basically grab firstly this kind of outer frame. So okay, so the family has these predetermined parameters that you can adjust, but by default it has a height parameter, which is shown in the exterior elevation, and it has a width parameter. And if you notice, the sweep that we made, because we locked it, if you change this to 2000 or whatever number, or 3000, the beauty about these families is that what you create, assuming it's locked to the parameter, will apply those changes automatically. So I'm going to undo. I made the height 1849 and the width 1968. And now with these kind of measurements, now we can come into the sweep to do this interior frame. So I'm gonna just quickly find this sort of point here. So what I'm gonna do is go 3D. I'm gonna go create a sweep, And then I'm gonna pick a path this time, or sketch a path this time. And I'll set the work plane to this face. And then I'm gonna go back into the exterior view. And I'm just gonna simply sketch. And then hit finish. I'm gonna select the profile. And then edit the profile in 3D view. And let me see where we're at. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to make the profile maybe central to this this width here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the midpoint from this line and then just go maybe about like 82, which is a measurement that we got. And then I'll go about 50 on each side, so about 100 thickness. And then I'm going to close this up. Make sure this one is straight. Then I'm going to type TR and just trim these. And delete this one. And hit finish. And now, if I go into exterior view, we have our frame. So now with this frame, we need to create a glass frame within it. So what we can do is we can simply take an extrusion, and I'm going to go create extrusion. I'm gonna pick the face of our frame, our window frame. I'm gonna go into exterior view and then just take a rectangle and click, and I'll lock these up, these parameters, and I'll assign the material to glass, hit apply, and then finish. And then in the 3D view, we're going to, because this is not the right size right now, we're going to actually go into the reference plane view, and we're going to, we basically want two reference planes that are going to guide the thickness. So I'm going to make this glass 25 millimeters thick, so I'll go 12 and 12. Or 12.5, sorry. 12.5. And now when I take this this reference plane of the glass, it will lock onto the reference plane. So I can use a shape handle in the reference level, the floor plan level, to just lock it, and I'll do the same thing on the other side and lock it, and make sure these corners are locked, and then hit finish, and then that is done. Okay, it's looking pretty good. And now we need this kind of larger pane, which will simply just be an extrusion. So I'm going to do that. What we can do is I want to have this kind of offset here. If I find out what this offset is, which is about 60 millimeters, I can go into the sweep that we made, this first sweep, and I can actually actually I'm gonna go into create tab. I'm gonna go void extrusion. I'm gonna set the work plane to the underside of the header or the top of our frame. And I'm simply just gonna come in with an extrusion in 3D view. And I'm gonna go right to about like here, maybe. I can lock these like so. And then for the depth, I'll go like, what do we say, 60? And then hit finish. And now this extrusion, this void extrusion is cutting through this frame, which is what we want. So I'm going to take our extrusion, our void extrusion. I'm going to type DM with copy, and I'm simply going to find the midpoint and mirror it. So now we have this cut on both sides. And now I'm going to take a I'm going to take I'll do two extrusions. The first one will be the center mullion. So I'm gonna go set the work plane. I'll pick this sort of bottom face extrusion. I haven't been assigning materials, so I'm going to make sure that my materials are assigned. And I'll do this for the other ones that I missed. I'm going to come into the 3D view and just grab this edge. And then I'm going to lock these sides. I'm going to type AL, and I'm going to grab this kind of corner and then align it to, I'm going to align the 3D edge to the 2D edge and lock that up. And then I'm going to hit finish. And then I'll simply just use the shape panel to drag this up and then lock that onto that edge. And you could even join these up to maintain like continuity. So now finally, what we're gonna do is just create the glass in the same procedure that we did for this one. So I'm gonna again go into set work plane. I'm gonna pick this outer face and then come in with an extrusion, an exterior view, and using a rectangle shape, I'm just gonna drag like so, and then lock these parameters and hit finish. I'm gonna come into the reference level, and then now simply just drag to the reference planes that we created. Lock and lock. I'm gonna make sure that this is glass. Okay. So now we have our glass partitions, our glass frame, sorry, and then we have our mullion and our window. I just want to make sure that we have our textures assigned. I missed this one, so I'm simply just going to add the material for this one and make it cherry wood. Okay, this is pretty good. So now I'm going to save it and load it into our project. I'm going to name it wood / window. And then I'm going to load this into the project that we have at the top. And now I'm going to come into our second floor and I'm going to go wireframe to understand where this window is. So let me go back into the first floor actually. So I'm going to put the window about here. And then on the second floor we have another one here. And you can tap the spacebar to reorientate it, like so. So I'm gonna hit click. I'm gonna click it on the wall. So because it's a window, Revit knows automatically that the host geometry will be a wall. So it's going to look for walls in your project to host. The window will not host onto anything else that is not a wall, basically, unless you change the parameters in the family. So I'm gonna come to 3D view and see what we made. So I can now I'm going to take I'm actually going to go back into the images of the project. Just see if we missed anything. So this looks pretty good. This has to be mirrored. So I'm gonna type DM and see if I can mirror it again. I'm gonna come into the north elevation with copy unchecked and simply just mirror it, and that kind of mirrors it to that side. And now I'm going to bring this sill height down to like 100. Okay. So that looks pretty good. I think these should be a little bit further apart though. So I'm probably gonna take this and just nudge it with the arrow keys on my keyboard and just simply nudge it closer to that corner and do the same thing for this one. And that looks pretty good. So now that we have our windows, I'm going to now copy this to this one. This one here. And then we have one more on the other side of the building. If I could find it. But we'll do that for now. And then the other windows will be this small round one and then this kind of double hung window that we can create. So we'll do this one first. I'm simply just going to copy. Maybe I'll copy to the same place. So select the window, hit excuse me. Select the window, hit copy to clipboard, paste, align to same place. Okay, it's not gonna let me do that. Instead, you can just come to the architecture tab window, and then this family will pop up in the window tab once you load it into the project. And then I'm simply just going to place it like so. I'm going to do the same thing for that other window, roughly about here. Sorry, it's not there. It's on the first floor. I'm going to pick new host and just simply put it about there. And I know from the images that the bottom of this window is aligned to the top of this kind of water basin. So I'm just going to type AL. I'm going to grab the face, top face of this wall, which is where I want the window to go, and then I'm going to grab the bottom face of the window. And then I can lock it, and now the window sill height will be constrained to this wall. Okay, so now that we have that, I have to figure out this window. It's too high now, so this has to be lower. Roughly about there. A little bit more to the left, like so. That looks pretty good. And now I'm going to come into the the first floor, and I'm gonna figure out where that that window is. So the window is about here. So I'm going to take. I have the drawing right now in the foreground in the properties here. So I'm gonna push this to the background so we see where it is. And then for now I can actually close. I can close this family. It might be a little bit distracting to see this for now. And because we put that image to the background, we don't see it unless we go wireframe. So if we go wireframe, we see it again, and it's kind of hidden behind the geometry. So we know that this window on the east elevation is basically roughly the same distance. So I'm going to take our window, and again just type DM with copy selected, and from the midpoint I'm going to just click twice, and then that mirrors the window to the other side of our building. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So now I want to create that double hung window, and I'm going to use the same process that we did to create these. So I'm actually going to go select the window, go into edit family, and I'm going to kind of guesstimate like how big this window is. So it's roughly the same, like just based off of this image and proportions. It's roughly the same width. So we can keep the same size, but we have to change the way that the frame is because it's double hung. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna come into our family that we created, and I'm gonna go File, Save As, and I'm gonna save this. What this is gonna do, it's going to take the family that we already made, and I'm basically gonna duplicate it. So I'm gonna call it wood double hung window, and notice that the name of the family has changed. So now we're in a copy basically of the previous family. So the original one is unchanged. And now simply I can actually come into, I can delete these voids because I don't need them anymore. And I can, I'm going to take this, I'm going to delete this mullion. Don't need this mullion. I'm going to delete this glass. And now what I want to do is I want to potentially, I'm going to attempt to try and rotate these. So I'm going to see if it'll let me do it right out of the box. So I'm going to go into exterior view with the frame and the glass selected, and I'm going to see if it will do this. So I'm going to simply take the rotate tool and then rotate 9 degrees, and it did let me. So now I'm going to just use the move tool and move it to the corner. And it says constraints not satisfied because the reason why it's saying this is because we locked the original constraints to this boundary. So I'm going to go remove constraints, that's fine. And now I'm going to simply edit the sweep. I'm going to sketch the path. And I'm simply going to drag the path and lock it to this boundary. I'm going to hit finish. And then I'm going to take our glass. And because because we constrained the glass to the frame, the glass actually moves with the frame. So that's really helpful. So you always want to be locking your like when you're doing stuff like this, you always want to be locking parameters, basically, as a rule of thumb, because you want to do this like the most efficient way possible. And then finally, I'm gonna come into the exterior view. I'm going to just create a final extrusion with the work plane as this outer face. Then take a rectangle just to create this kind of glass. And then I'll lock these as done previously. I'll hit finish. And if you already guessed it by now, material change, very important. And then in the reference level, just dragging it to the reference planes we created. And then that's done. So now we can load this into our project again. And I'm going to go into west elevation or east elevation, sorry. And then I'm going to go into architecture tab window. And I'm going to place it about like there, potentially, which is where it is roughly in the image. I'm going to come into 3D view. And this looks pretty good. Maybe like a touch higher, maybe. And that looks pretty good. Okay.